Okay, hello, and welcome. I'm so excited to see y'all here. I know, oh, the connection's a little choppy. How is it now? Is it any? Is that is not me singing? It's not me singing. No, that was Imagine Dragons, making me a believer that I can grow things. So you'll see my affirmations for you to help you out with your belief in your ability to grow things. So you can see my little profile photo. Don't worry, you will see that photo again at the end of the presentation. It's a really good one. So let me go ahead. So welcome everyone to my Microgreens Get Growing call tonight. I'm really excited to share some things with you. This was super spontaneous, like idea of just getting on and putting a presentation together to walk you through a little bit, just enough about microgreens, so that maybe you'll want to like go ahead and get started growing some. The first time I thought to grow microgreens that I remember was in 2020. Sometime, I think it was in the summer of 2020. I was like, I wonder if I could grow microgreens. And I didn't do it. Like I ignored it. And instead, I planted some watermelon plants in my backyard and I did nothing to them. And they happened to grow like crazy all over the place. And we had about 50 watermelons. It was insanity. But then there was the challenge of when do we pick them? Like, by the way, that's a whole thing. Like you can grow the watermelons, but when are they ripe? And so there was a lot of learning going on with that. So 100%, I will tell you, if you're on here and you're a great gardener, high five, I'm proud of you. I fear bringing plants home in my house because I'm not sure if they'll survive. I forget about them. I don't know how much to water them. There's a lot of issues that I have with plants. So I am here to get you excited. That tray in my profile photo is a tray of wheatgrass. And I did it the first time, boom, grew it beautifully. And the big problem with wheatgrass is mold, not a speck of mold. Like I nailed it. I don't understand like how, like from my track record of this, I don't have life proof in my past of being good at growing things, but microgreens, for me have been just building my belief in my ability to grow things. So you can see on this slide here, my affirmations that I've said to myself to try to fix my mindset on this is I'm beginning to believe I can grow things, right? Plants love me. I love plants and plants love me. That's another one that I've said a few times. Growing my own food creates feelings of abundance. And so for me, growing microgreens has been therapeutic. And it's because it's this proof, this quick proof that you can do something like that. Like you can create new life. So if I can create new life and I can grow something into this beautiful, edible, nutritious plant, what else can I do in my life? Where else can I grow something? Can I create something? Can I nurture something? I mean, this is like motherhood in plant form. That's pretty accurate to describe what this is for me, motherhood in plant form. And it's been really empowering to kind of see this come to life, literally. So there are a lot of common questions, and I'm hoping that I'm going to cover most of what you might have for questions. I know and I'm going to share with you, I actually found a woman who taught me. Well, like I said, let me back up for a second. So 2020, the seed was planted literally about growing microgreens, and I didn't do it. And it kept coming up over and over and over again. And I bought these trays and some things I didn't even need, and some grow lights and the seed as early as long ago as November of 2022. And they kind of sat there. Like I pulled something out and I looked at it like, yeah, I might do something with this. And then I didn't, and then I didn't, and then I didn't. And then finally where I started was in a dish, and I'm going to show you that. And it kind of built my confidence until I was willing to put them in the trays and like go big. And it's funny, like it's as if it's this big risk or something like that. But it took me a bit to get to that point. So some of the common questions, and these are things that I had when I first started, were things like, what are microgreens? What's the difference between microgreens, sprouts, and baby salad greens? Why should I grow and eat them? How nutritious are they, and how do I eat them? And because it's kind of like at this point, so okay, great, I grew them, but now what do I do with them? So how do I start growing them? What are the easiest microgreens to grow? What are the hardest? And growing microgreens versus in soil versus hydroponics. So I'm going to try to cover all of that for you tonight so that you have an idea of what you're getting yourself into here. So microgreens are the seedlings of the edible vegetables. So think of herbs and flowers, and yes, you can grow flowers as well. So they're the actual seedlings of that. So if you've been to a store and you've purchased seedlings, they're the small version, and we'll get into that some more. So they're harvested when the first leaves form, usually about 10 days from when you initially plant the seeds. And it just really depends on the variety. And I've seen that as I've been experimenting. I've really failed with some when I was doing them in the dishes early on. I was experimenting with them, and I really had a mess. I had mold, I had things that didn't sprout, and each variety has a different kind of formula for what you do. Like, do you soak them? Do you just plant them without that? Do you cover them with soil? Do you leave them without? There's a lot of little things with that, but I'm going to make it simple for you to get started. So microgreens, they grow densely in soil, or you can do them hydroponically. I am not doing them hydroponically. I've done hydroponics in the past, like those vertical towers. There's a lot of different brands out there. Those vertical hydroponic towers are really great. There are things about them that I didn't love. And for me, that was kind of the cleanup. The root systems and stuff kind of get a mess in that. I don't know. I didn't really love it, but they are pretty fun. So because microgreens are harvested at the seedling state, they have concentrated levels of nutrients and flavor. And this was one of the things I thought was really most interesting when I started looking into microgreens. You start really getting into the nutritional content, and I mean, it can be like 40 times more than the actual plant if you were to eat, say the broccoli when it's actually broccoli. It's really, really cool as you start getting more into that. Like, these can be kind of like multivitamins, zinc, all kinds of minerals, all kinds of things in the microgreens. So it's just dense nutritional value. And yeah, I get really excited when I start thinking about being able to truly nourish our bodies and grow it ourselves. And in 10 days, that's the thing for me, is it's the time. It's not weeks and months of opportunity to mess it up, is how I look at it. Like when we're coming to my prior skill set or lack thereof. So what is the difference between, let's start with this. What's the difference between microgreens, sprouts, and baby salad greens? So here we got some photos for you. So microgreens are typically grown in soil, and they're at that second stage of a plant's life where those roots have established themselves and the first leaves start to appear. And so you can see in the photos there, the person's holding in the tray, that's the microgreen stage there. So when they're harvested at that stage, they're just that adult stage leaf is just starting to emerge. And that is when there's this peak flavor intensity, and that's where the nutritional content is. Because the thing that happens is the seed actually contains all this nutritional content. And so when you're really in that sprout stage, all of it is just starting to push up, and it hasn't been kind of, I like to think of it like as diluted throughout the whole plant, and as it grows and it starts to use all of that in its growth process. But it's dense in there to feed the seed, to get the seed to be able to grow and do what it's supposed to be doing. Now the sprouts, you've probably seen sprouts. People put them, you can see right here, there's a mason jar. There's all kinds of mason jar sprout kits and stuff like that. If you've ever looked at the directions on how to do sprouts in a mason jar or experimented with that, it's not for me. It's a lot of effort to me. It's just the consistency of, like, you need to rinse it and, flip it around. And then as you can see here, all those little brown specks are all the husks from the seed. My kids aren't a fan of seeing all those little flecks. They want to pick them all out. And, it's just, they're great. They're nutritious. People love to do it. And it's a great fun homeschooling experiment or something like that. But it's it's just not for me. It's not what I've loved to do. But those are pretty fun, you know, and you can put them in a tray, a jar, or a bag. And they're, again, it says here, they're usually eaten soon after the seeds germinate. So this is days, you know, this isn't as long as the microgreens, but you know, you're still getting tons of nutrition. So this can be a great way if you're just looking, you know, like, hey, I just want to do a jar for fun. It could be a great place to start. And you can buy the jars and kind of like these mini kits. You can find them on the Amazon. I'll get into seeds a little bit, but you know, I'll start hitting on it now. You really want to make sure that when you're getting seed, you're getting organic, non-GMO. And even once you get into the seed a little bit more, you want to get a quality seed from a supplier where it's actually going to germinate. So you can get seed that doesn't germinate. And True Leaf is one of the companies that I've gotten seed from, and everything that I've gotten from them so far has germinated and I haven't had a problem, which is really exciting because I need to see the win when I'm growing stuff. I'm building my confidence in that area. And so it's really exciting that there's something that's been proven. And there are plenty of other great seed suppliers. That's just the one that I've had experience with so far. So, all right, baby salad greens. You can see kind of a picture of what those look like there. They're allowed to grow beyond the microgreen stage. And so you'll see a true leaf. You know, you think of, you know, the baby spinach, for example, is something you're probably very familiar with seeing. That's like a baby salad green. That's a smaller leaf, and that's a great way to think of it. They're harvested while they're still juvenile plants. The flavor is a little bit closer to where the adult stage of the plant is versus the microgreen stage. So the microgreen, like I'm going to get into flavor profiles, but you'll get more of a flavor punch with the microgreens. It's really kind of fun to experiment with that. So they've had more time to pull the nutrients out of the soil that they're growing in also. So there's just a little bit more going on with that stage. So why should you grow and eat microgreens? Well, I think I've kind of hit on a lot with the fact that they're more dense with nutrients, but this is a great way to get some extra vegetables in your diet too, because again, you have to eat less of them to get this value. So I kind of equate this to a step down from juicing. So juicing, tons of nutrients in a small quantity of liquid. You know, you can juice multiple carrots and have, you know, a 16-ounce glass of juice, and you're drinking like, I don't know, like a quarter pound of carrots or something like that. You know, so you're getting a lot for a small amount of what you're consuming. And so you think of microgreens too, that, I mean, this is the bigger bang for your buck when it comes to eating vegetables. So they have a lot of flavor, there's freshness, because I mean, this is literally right off your shelf in your, it could be in your window. You can grow these, by the way, I'm going to get into it, but without grow lights, right in like a window in your home. So there's lots of different ways that you can do this, and it doesn't have to be super hard. And like I said, they're going to provide up to 40 times more vitamins, minerals, and other health promoting properties per bite when compared to their full grown counterparts. Quick, easy, and inexpensive. So how do I eat microgreens? Here's some beautiful photo examples of that. I did not take these photos. Photo credit goes to all those free sources out there. But you can see how all the people are doing in these photos is sprinkling them on top, or, you know, just as a part of like a garnish is what you would look at it as. So the best way to think of this, and you see lots of examples, the best way to think of this is to start thinking of microgreens as a replacement for lettuce. So if you just start there, that's going to start to get your mind more accustomed to incorporating microgreens into your life. You're like, okay, so where do I normally use lettuce? I use it in a salad. Okay, so I can use microgreens instead of lettuce in a salad. And the cool thing about growing microgreens, and when you're picking out your seed varieties, is there are actually really cool salad mixes that are already made out there where they'll take different types of vegetable seeds that people have stereotypically liked in their salad or as a salad, and they will go ahead and just blend them all together, and they'll have similar grow patterns, similar needs. So they've already been tried, true, and tested. You don't have to figure it out yourself. And then you can just plant those and voila, you have a salad. What people will do if you go to your farmer's market and you go to buy microgreens there, you might find that your local microgreen grower has salad packs just ready to go. So they'll put together those clamshell plastic containers, and they may say salad mix right on it. And what you could do is you could just grab that clamshell, add some other vegetables to that, and you'll have it's kind of like a meal prep at your microgreen grower, and just add some stuff and good to go. So super simple way to think about it there. I've even tossed them in a smoothie. I've put them in juice. So like right now at this moment, I harvested 2 huge trays. One, because I'm still figuring my life out and how I'm using these. 2 huge trays of microgreens. One was broccoli and one was a salad mix. Super awesome. We just put them on, one of my daughters made like udon noodles and carrots and onions and all, and this wonderful sauce, like phenomenal. Oh, and like tofu on it, fried tofu on it. Some absolutely amazing dinner. And all we did was we grabbed a pinch or whatever you want to call it of some sprouts, and we just put it on top. And so we got, like a 1/4 cup of sprouts mixed in with our meal. So you don't want to cook them, you don't have to cook them or anything like that. You just put them on there raw, and it gives you some little bit of veggie to go with whatever you're eating. So that's what we did literally tonight. And right now I have in my profile photo, that big, huge tray of wheatgrass. My wheatgrass, as you can see, is ready to go. So I'm about to juice the wheatgrass, and we're going to do some experimentation with some wheatgrass juice combos. Like, how can we make this taste palatable for my daughters? And I have twin 15-year-old girls. And so we're going to figure out what is great for them so that we can use this juice in our daily life and incorporate all this nutrition. And also I'm going to end up juicing all these sprouts that I just harvested because it's way too much for me. Next time I'll prepare and I'll start handing them out to the neighbors. But for now, we're going to experiment with some juice recipes with our sprouts, because I juice green juices all the time. And what you'll find with green juices, if you've been doing this juicing, you'll find that, and I've done a bunch of research from a perspective of actually providing juice to the public. Where the cost comes in when you're making green juices is with the superfoods. So the denser nutritious vegetables that you're putting in the green juice is where your cost creeps up. So things like that are going to produce a lot of liquid, like cucumbers and stuff like that, celery, green apples, that's creating a lot of the liquid, but the superfoods don't create a lot of liquid. And so it's really, really nice if you have microgreens, because you can add the superfoods, which is the bigger investment, especially right now. There's a lot of prices going up on vegetables, and especially organic. And if you can provide the superfoods, you're going to cut down your costs of your actual juicing as well. So I love that, because I love drinking green juice. That's my favorite way to get my vegetables. So just keep that in mind. And I will share, as I'm using my microgreens and making juices, I'll share more about what I'm doing with them so that you can see. So here's a bunch of different microgreen types out there. Radish is very popular. Pea is incredibly popular. That's one of the most common ones. And then what I think is a lot of fun is when you can pull in some color. So you'll see the cabbage, the amaranth, just to get some color in there too, because I've found when I make salads, especially looking at the amaranth there and the cabbage, and of course the radish, those three, you see the red, like the red or the pink. I think it's really important to be thinking about color when you're making a salad or you're making food. Different colors really have an impact on your emotions. I know there's a lot of talk about things like pineapple, for example, for depression. And it's beyond just the nutritional content of the pineapple. There is a whole aspect about, the nutritional content and how that impacts your mood, but it's also the flavor. It's also that yellow, that vibrant yellow color. Think of the sun. right? So there's a lot going on when you're eating food beyond just nutritional content and, I'm eating veggies versus, garbage fried foods or something like that. You're really thinking about the whole experience of eating and making it more of a sacred ritual than just eating to not be hungry anymore. I like to take a bowl of salad, for example, and if you're growing it, think of all the love that you're putting into your actual microgreens. So I like to take a bowl of salad and I'm sit with gratitude, as I'm preparing whatever it is that I'm eating. I'm preparing the salad and I'm cutting the tomato and I'm looking at the vibrant red color and I'm thinking about how grateful I am for this, grape tomato that somebody grew for me because, I'm beginning to believe I can grow tomatoes. And so, cut the tomato and the juice is coming out and I'm putting it on top of my salad and I'm just looking at the vibrant colors. I'm not wrapped up in my head thinking about whatever I got to do after lunch, but I'm looking at lunch. So lunch can be an experience. Food prep can be an experience versus a chore. And I think we set the example for our children when we're doing stuff like that. And they see us looking at food preparation as a loving act, as a sacred ritual, as a way of expressing, love to ourselves, to our bodies, and being grateful for this abundance that we have. Like, how grateful are we that we actually have nutritious food to feed our bodies and nourish? So lots of different things there to consider. So you will have access to all these slides, so you don't have to worry. Some of these have a lot of great content that I know you'd want to print and look over because it's going to help you make decisions on what is it that you actually want to grow. So you can look at the different flavor profiles and start to think about, like, what is it that I like to eat? What are the flavors that I enjoy? And when you're thinking about that, really grow things and start with things that you think you're going to use. Again, worst case scenario, which is still a win, you juice them and you get the nutrients that way. And you're like, you know what? I'm just got this whole bin of broccoli sprouts. I'm never going to get to them all. I'm just going to go ahead and throw them in the juicer and call it a day. Like that's the way to go. So you don't waste anything, but there's lots of great things to consider, and you can really have a lot of fun with it when you think about how your family consumes food, what are your favorite flavors, and start to head in that direction. And I would encourage you, if you have children or other people in your home, ask them, like, print this page out or some of the other ones that I'm going to give you in this slide presentation and sit down with them and be like, look at this list. Or when I say fresh, crisp cucumber flavor, is that something that you like the sound of? Is that a flavor profile that you would like to see? Hey, let's buy a small pack of these organic seeds. Let's give them a shot in this little container and let's start doing taste testing. Think of it like this. Like, maybe you used to go to the brewery and you'd get a flight of different brewery beers. I used to do that. And you'll try all the different ones and you have, I don't even remember what they're called, sours and IPAs and Hefeweizen or whatever they are, right? And you had all those different beers and you would just go through and taste the different flavor profiles, or maybe you did that at a vineyard or something like that. Coffee cupping, I used to do that too. So like lots of different things were, teas, all of it. And you really sit with it and you taste the different flavor profiles. You can do something fun like that with this. You could grow 3 different kinds in the little pots I'm going to show you, and you could figure out which are the ones you like the best before you make a commitment of a tray. Okay. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So these slides will give you, again, you can dive into them in more detail, read through them on your own. These slides I put together to give you more information about the flavor profiles, about the nutrient content in each of these microgreens. You'll see pea shoots. Pea shoots, if you are growing them to sell to people, pea shoots are one of the favorite. People love the taste of pea shoots, and they're great like in a pita or on a sandwich or something. That's like, people really love that a lot. So they're crisp and sweet, and they taste like freshly picked peas, which are just delicious. So lots of beta carotene, vitamin A, C, folate, fiber. It's a great way, to get a lot of nutrients in your body. Again, people love them. Sunflower shoots are a great are super easy to grow. And so are radish, pea, and sunflower are all ones that are easy to grow. So definitely like think about that. That is a consideration. So are broccoli are easy to grow, and a salad mix are as well. So you can see what I'm talking about when I say there's lots of great different options. And when you go to an trueleaf.com, for example, is the site that I use. When you go on there and you click on microgreens, they're smart. They are specifically marketing to microgreen enthusiasts, and they will have different mixes, and you can read through the descriptions, you can read through the reviews. There's lots of fun like exploration you can do in there, but I definitely recommend, starting simple with some of the ones there. I mean, check this out. You can even do microgreen wasabi mustard. It's going to have that bold flavor with that little wasabi kick to it, and it's going to have antioxidants, fiber. You got some great vitamins there, even vitamin K. So just picture the kind of punch you're going to offer. And I just want to hurry up. I want to get to the slide where I show you how you can grow these, because it's such a fun thing to do in a small quantity before you go bigger. So lots of great options here. All right, we're going to get into the meat of the talk here. How do you start growing them, and what are the easiest ones to grow? I've kind of hinted at that several times at this point. This is the slide for you. The microgreens kit. So you can see the concept. Here's the concept. It's a small pot. That's about a 4-inch diameter pot, a little bit smaller than 4 inches. Super simple. You can find them on like Amazon or something. You can go to a store and find small pots. You can even experiment with doing things like those. I don't recommend aluminum, but I've seen people use those aluminum like foil type bread loaf pans or something like that. I started by using some bowls. Like there were these great bowls that kind of had a little bit of a straight side to them that I bought at like dollar store or something like that. I was using those at first. Just any kind of container in that way. You could start, trying with that. But this was so exciting because, as you can see, this is during the growing process. These are on a shelf that I hung in front of my window. And as you can see, like no grow lights, nothing, fancy going on here. This was just natural light. You do need the grow lights when you're going to start growing, the trays. They definitely need grow lights. But when you're talking about these small pots like this, you can just put them in your windowsill. So if you got really clever with this, and this is where I was headed, and I'm still continuing to get my process down of what works for our family and what our favorite microgreens are to just continuously have available, because this is just a never-ending supply. And once you get the hang of this, you're going to get really excited because you'll always have fresh things to just clip from. Like, what's for dinner tonight? Let's just grab some of these and throw them in with what we're doing. But you could stagger this so that, you have pots at different stages. And there's a gentleman who wrote a book, and I don't have it in front of me. And it's like salad gardener or something like that. The book was, I basically own every microgreen book made. And he had a great process where every single day he was starting them in those loaf pan type things or in round bowls. He would start them every single day, and he knew how many to start for his family so that every single day they had a fresh microgreen salad. Every single day they ate a salad with dinner or at lunch. And he had that whole process just down. It was just something he did every single day. And I thought that was so cool. So he had these like all over the place and all the windowsills and stuff, and he had everything on a rotation. And it's just a brilliant way to start to think about being able to provide nutrition for your family, have kind of a fun, rewarding project going on as well. It could be a responsibility of, the kids that rotate through, but it's a great way to have something going on a regular rotation. So I made up this lovely directions. These are instructions on how to grow in one of those pots. So I put that together for you, and this is something that I can send you as well. But I'm going to, so you don't have to worry about like taking notes of all of this. This is just every detail you would want to be able to grow in one of those little pots. It's the whole process. And I'm going to walk you through it because it's a lot of words. And I know sometimes you look at like, whoa, that's a lot of words, but it's just things so you don't forget little tiny steps. But it's very, very simple. So I'm going to do the picture version for you so you can see how simple this is. All right. So you're going to have your little pot. You're going to have water. In this scenario, you could have soil, or you could have these coconut coir discs. And so these discs, it's coconut fiber. And once you add water to it, it expands. So you can see that little disc in the first photo there, that expands to fill that entire pot with soil, which is it was cool. I mean, that alone is a fun homeschool project right there. Just want to put a plug in for homeschool moms and families out there. So I just took that little disc and I took 3/4 cup of water and I mixed it in my container there, as you can see in picture 2. And once it just absorbs all of that, it's kind of like one of those things you used to throw in the bathtub and it turns into a sponge. It's very exciting. This is the microgreens version of that. So you just go ahead and soak up all the goodness, mix it up. You can you might want to pull out any like weird, if there's like a big fiber or something like that you want to pull out of there. I've done that a couple times. You can, no big deal. And then you go ahead and, like you see in number 3, dump all of that nice moist soil into the pot. So that's this important piece to it is just that all of that soil is nice and hydrated because that's what your plant needs. And it's kind of the secret sauce, because here's what it is with microgreens. You don't want to overwater them. You don't want to underwater them. You want them just right. It's kind of like Goldilocks and 3 Bears style here. You want it just right. And so this process right here helps you to get it just right, and make it easy. So the next slide, what you do is you want to compact the soil. And here's how I think of this. If you're a recovering coffee addict like me, I was originally at one point going to open a coffee shop back in the day. And I was like barista, coffee cupping, roasting, all the things, investigator. Like I was getting all the training for it. When you do espresso, if you've ever seen them, you've maybe seen this at Starbucks or wherever you go, they take the tamper when they go to make espresso and they tamp the coffee grounds into, I don't even remember what the thing is called. The thing that that they put the coffee in to make the espresso, whatever that part with the handle. Anyway, I can't remember all these names, but they tamp it, right? That's what I think of every time I'm compacting the soil, because the goal when they're making the espresso, right, is they want that surface to be flat. And they want it flat because when the hot water hits the top of that the espresso grounds, they want it to distribute evenly and soak evenly into the grounds and, go all the way through and come out the spouts to produce this beautiful rust colored, like delightful espresso. It tastes amazing, right? There's that makes it taste amazing. The right amount of brew and all this pieces to the flavor profile that you want by providing a flat surface. So in that way, think about, you want this flat surface, and it's great to experiment with these little pots because as you progress to the larger trays, you want this flat surface there too. You want to be able to distribute the seeds evenly. You want to be able to water, evenly and have everything kind of distributed throughout the whole tray. And it just helps if it's flat, and, just lovely in that way. So it doesn't have to be perfect at all, like espresso, but I think of it. It's like the thing in my head every time I do this. So you flatten it all out, and I was doing it with a spoon. You can do it with your knuckles or something like that too. Then you simply sprinkle the seeds on to the top, and that's it. You're not covering them. You're not compressing them like at this moment into the soil or anything like that. You're just spreading them evenly around. And remember, like wherever they're landing is where they're going to grow. So you kind of want to like spread them, like I said, evenly to the best of your ability. Not perfect, no big deal, but get them out so they have room to grow. And it's really, so the ones I was growing here, I think was the salad mix, and it was about, I think it was a teaspoon of seeds, and I did not pre-soak them. So then you go ahead and on number 6 here, you spray those seeds. You just mist them with some water. I just have a small water bottle that I mist the top of the seeds with. And then you're going to take the dish, which was, normally when you have this pot, you're going to have the dish on the bottom, right, to catch any drainage of water runoff. But for this phase of the microgreens, you're going to put that dish right on top and you're going to press it down. And then you're going to put, just like you see in number 8, rubber bands, crisscross over the top. And you're going to just allow that to sit like that. And that's how it's going to sit. You don't have to put it, like you can see mine's on the shelf. That's just for convenience for the photo. But I just put it wherever, like just somewhere where you're going to notice it. So, if you're drinking tea or something like that in the mornings, put it near your tea kettle so that when you go to do your tea, you see it and you're like, oh yeah, okay. Because what you're going to do, you're going to weight watch and water. So every morning you're going to go to that and you are going to remove the bands, lift up the lid, and you're going to spritz those seeds with some water on a daily basis. And that takes about, it's 2 to 5 days that you're going to be doing this weight watch and water thing. And I'm going to show you a photo on the next slide. So what you're going to start to see. So what happens, you see how they're starting to grow right there? So what you're going to see is you're going to start to see a little bit less than that of growth, but it's going to be poking up the sides of the dish. It's so interesting. And I actually posted a photo of this in my stories. I thought I had it in this presentation, but it's so interesting. These little microgreens are so strong. You wait till I get to the trays for this. They will lift up massive stones or bricks. Like, when I learned how to grow microgreens, I was like, really? I'm rubber banding on top of the seeds with like the tray? Why am I crushing the seeds and like crushing the growth? Because I would never think to put the pressure on them in that way, but it totally works. So you remove the saucer after the 2 to 5 days when you start to really see them pushing up on it. And that's when they're going to start to breathe. And basically that second photo in the middle here is what it's going to look like. The middle will be a little bit more pressed down and it might be yellow. And then the edges will be greener. But once it starts to, give it some water, give it some air and sunshine, and you're going to watch it actually green up, possibly even by the end of the day or the next day, it's going to start to look closer and closer to what you see in that third picture to the right. That's a broccoli microgreen, and it's the first one I ever did. And I was shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, I actually grew something. And honestly, that in itself right there is enough to just start playing with the flavors and seeing how you use them before you commit to a huge tray and, the investment of grow lights and going all down that direction. And so what you're going to start to do once you uncover the saucer, take the saucer off and put it on the bottom, you're going to start just looking at them and, watering them every morning, just a little bit. And it may be, maybe a 1/4 cup of water. And you just, keep giving it a little bit of water to keep it going. And I just monitor that. I don't try to overwater them. You'll just start to see that process. And if I can figure it out, I can guarantee you that you can figure it out, because that's why I felt good about doing this presentation. Because I was like, I am the person who did not have the skill set to do this. And I need to tell everybody that they can do this if I can do this. So feel good about it. And high five if you're good at growing things naturally, then like you'll be winning for sure. Okay, I want to get into talking about the actual trays and getting into a little bit bigger thing. And if you have questions or something like that, please feel free to, pop them over into the chat. Because, I'll take a look and answer them if something comes up. So this is the fun part. So this is the story. This is how how God works here, right? So I bought, you can see the shelf. That's from Costco. Well, it says Costco.com. So I'm not sponsored by Costco or Truly for anybody. But I saw that in the Costco catalog that got sent to me. I was like, oh, there it is. that's like the shelf, and it's great because it has wheels on it. So if you're going to upgrade from just messing around with some little pots and you want to get bigger into the trays, that's the type of shelf that I recommend. It's what I have, minus I don't have the wheels, and mine came from Target actually, and I bought it to go in a closet like over a year ago, actually a year and a half ago. And it's funny, right? Because I don't know why I bought that specific shelf. Well, I do now, right? It was for my microgreens, but I was kind of like, I don't know why I want this, but I feel like this is the right shelf for me to get for this purpose. And I am, here it is. And then it ends up being the right thing that's for growing microgreens. And so that's a great way, you know, it's great because you can, the way you can attach with zip ties, the lights to the shelf above it, and then that whole process. And I'll walk you through that in a second, but it really, really works well. Now, the metal shelf is great, especially in the stainless steel, like the one that I have there. Then you're looking at trays. You know, you need to get the trays, and they're 10 by 20 trays. I recommend the 1 inch deep. The ones you see me having in those photos, those are the 2 inch deep ones. They're not necessary. It's twice as much soil, and you don't need to do it. So I have them in my cart. I need to order the 1 inch ones for my future trays of microgreens, because I don't need to use twice as much soil. You can do it in less. So that's what I'm gonna be doing here. And fun fact, if you order them where I am, which is on True Leaf, they have them in multiple colors, so you can get really fun. Colors are important to me. So there's like blue and green and pink. I think there's orange. There's all kinds of fun colors. So you can color code your microgreens. If you do a lot of trays, you can do all kinds of fun stuff. Highly recommend bringing color into your life. You'll be doing 2 different types of trays. You'll get the drip, the trays that have like the holes in them, the drain trays, and then you'll have the ones that are solid with no holes. So, because what all of these are is they're all 2 trays, you know, with the one where you're actually growing the greens in that have the holes, and I'm going to show you some photos in a second. And then you'll have the solid one underneath so that you're not dripping everywhere. And all you do to water is just lift up and separate them, and you water the bottom tray. So it's so convenient and so easy, because you're not watering in on top of the greens. You're just watering the tray, and they suck it up from the bottom. You'll want a humidity and temperature monitor. So with this, the important thing about your humidity is you don't want high humidity. And this is why, one of the reasons why growing indoors with grow lights is really great when you're getting into the bigger trays, because then you're able to control your humidity because you have AC in your home. I have a shed that has perfect shelving, and it's super amazing and clean and brand new. It's so great. It's perfect for growing microgreens, filling the entire shed. The problem is I live in South Carolina with like 100% humidity. It's basically, you can drink the air. And I would need to have a super duper dehumidifier in there. And I'm not even sure I could get it low enough, because what happens is then you end up having mold problems and stuff like that. So for me right now in the summertime, I don't have to go out there and grow like that massive quantity. I'm just growing them in a conditioned space in my office here in the home, no problem. So does not have to get crazy outside, but you can see in the bottom left of that photo, that's where my little humidity monitor is. And it's really fun because it's always in the right band, which is 47% humidity. Has been really great for my greens, and like they've been growing perfectly, which is really the goal. So you want also an oscillating fan, so you get a little air movement over your greens. That helps a lot. And what's great about it also is it's also helping with mold. And obviously just, you know, giving them fresh air, continually kind of going over them. They seem to enjoy that a lot. And a spray bottle, so you can mist them if you need to. And you just monitor, you know, what your greens are like. You can tell. It's kind of fun because it's really obvious. And I'll talk about wheatgrass a little bit for you too, because that's, I think, a really important one if you're someone who does juicing. And I have a feeling some of the people who registered for this webinar are all juicers. I saw a lot of juicers that I'm familiar with mixed in. So Sunlight versus grow lights. Kind of touched on this already. I'll just say that sunlight is free. Sunlight is natural. I absolutely love sunlight. I prefer it always. You know, when you're doing the smaller pots and they're on a shelf, it works. You can grow microgreens outside. People will put them in these big greenhouses and things like that. But you know, if you're like me and you're just getting started playing around with them for yourself, you're probably growing them inside. So you can have them on the shelf, like I said, in the small pots, or you can do the grow lights on the larger shelves with the trays like I am doing also. The grow lights use electricity, but my experience is they're not using enough electricity to really impact my, you know, my budget or anything like that. And they allow you to grow in year round without any worries about, you know, is it raining for 5 days? You know, like, where's my shelf in my house? Is it near a window or whatever? You can just have it anywhere. And it's giving it full coverage of all of the plants, and it's giving it that direct light. So the grow lights should be full spectrum. 6500K is what they are. And it's like I said, they're the Barina brand lights have worked the best for me. So full spectrum is just so all right, we're going to get into science with that. So when you go on to, it's a great question though. There's multiple spectrums of the bands of light. This is my Cliff Notes version is what we'll call it. And the sun gives you all the spectrums of light, but certain light bulbs, light sources, these are the ones I use are LED full spectrum 6500. And if you don't get full spectrum, you're only getting certain bands of light. So you're not getting all of them. And you want to get all of them in order for them to grow optimally. That's my succinct answer. I will say, I think I mentioned it already, but hand grown, if you're really interested in getting like a PhD, no, it's kind of like that, but it's simplified. If you really, really want to get some in-depth training on microgreens, and I will tell you, I cannot recommend this person's course enough. Hand grown greens. Is that the name? Yeah. Hand grown greens. This woman, Laura Patterson, I think is her name. She is absolutely incredible. And what she did was she put together, it's very reasonable too, an entire course on growing microgreens. And she goes into next level detail with videos showing you how to do everything. And she even got contributors, which this is the part I love the most probably, got contributors like me who figured out how to grow, like, let's say wheatgrass really, really well. And they made their own video for the community on how to grow wheatgrass. And it's short video, you know, maybe like 10 or 15 minutes, but it walks you through like, here's how you do everything to be successful with wheatgrass. And I will tell you, I followed it to a T, and I was successful with my wheatgrass first time. And I was in awe because everyone's reviews prior to this that I was looking at for like growing wheatgrass and stuff, mold, it's impossible. Like I'm struggling, blah, blah, blah. Like lots of difficulty out there, lots of failure. And then, you know, this worked right away. So I just did what they said to do and I couldn't believe it. So I got really excited about that. I highly recommend that if you're getting into, you know, even just really wanting to dive in beyond what I'm giving you and wanting to get a lot of details about how to do this, her class is amazing. And she gives you everything you would need to have a successful business with microgreens. Hands down, the level of detail is incredible. And if you have questions about that, just ask me. I'm not like an affiliate or anything. I'm just a huge fan. So the microgreens trays, let's see. So like I said, the larger scale, recommend getting into the flats that are 1 to 2 inches deep. She recommends the 1 inch. I'm definitely moving to the 1 inch. My prior education from some books I read was talking 2 inch, 2 inch, 2 inch, but I'm looking at the success for her and everyone in the community of growing in 1 inch trays, and I'm done. Like I'm going to switch. So the best, the easiest, the ones you'll have the most success with right out the gate are pea shoots, sunflower shoots, radish, broccoli, and or you can get a salad mix, like I said. So I have all of those and all of them have worked. So I've been super excited, and it just building the confidence. And then before you get into, some of the harder ones. So wheatgrass, like I said, this is wheatgrass. And so I'm showing you wheatgrass as, actually wheatgrass, but number 3 is not wheatgrass. That's my broccoli greens. But the first 2 photos there are me planting wheatgrass. So the cool thing here, with planting is you can see how I filled the tray. Actually, in those trays, I should have gone a little bit higher. It's nicer if you can get the dirt a little closer up to the edge. But you fill the dirt, you spread it evenly. I used a bottom tray, the drip tray kind of to compact the dirt. And then I just evened it out with my hand, kind of spread it and made it even with my hand. You can use something like a big wooden piece that fits the exact dimensions of your tray and use it just like you would with espresso with the tamper, and like tamp it down. And that's, where I'm headed to. I need to get a chop saw to cut the thing that I have to do that. You do that. And then depending on the seed you are going to plant is going to determine how much seed you're spreading and whether or not you're pre-soaking. So I will tell you that the woman who did hand-grown greens, she has a beautiful spreadsheet that she put together for everybody that has pretty much every microgreen seed that you would want to grow in a spreadsheet. And it has what density you should have for a 10 by 20 tray, which you see there, how many days to, I'm looking at it right now, how many days to maturity, and how much yield you're going to have from that seed for microgreens to be able to like eat or sell. And then she's going to tell you whether or not you should soak, and even whether or not you should sanitize the seeds, which basically that's not something that you have to worry about. But soaking them. So I'm going to give you an example. Beet seeds. So if you're going to grow beet, you're going to want to soak those seeds in water for 8 hours before you plant them. And that's just going to help with the success from the germination perspective. And I saw this because, let me see, there's another one, pea. I had to soak the pea seeds before I planted them. And you soak those also for 8 hours. So sometimes I would soak them at night, overnight, or I would do it in the morning. But you can just soak them and then you can plant them. And remember, planting means lay them on flat surface of soil. Except so far, the only ones that you would actually cover with soil so far that I've done are the wheatgrass seeds. So that was something a little bit different. And I think part of that is helping to prevent mold. It's part of I think that's like the secret sauce. So in that second photo, that's what wheatgrass seed looks like. And wheatgrass doesn't get pre-soaked. I just spread it all on top and then sprayed it with water. So then you spray those seeds with some water, and then, and the dirt is already wet, by the way. You water the dirt before you put the seed on it. And then you get into the part 3 here, which is what you're going to do is you can stack those trays. So if you have a couple trays that you have seeded ready to go, you stack them on top of each other, and then you put an empty tray on top of that, and then you put something heavy on top. Like you can see where I have these big stones I pulled out of. I'm like wandering around my yard. You can probably imagine what this is like. I'm like, okay, what's heavy? And so I grabbed some bowls. I'm like, no, these aren't heavy. And then, I'm walking around my house just looking at things like what's heavy that I own. I was like, my big amethyst, like, should I use that? Probably would be great, right? And then I walked outside and I had these big stones as edging in the house that I'm in. I was like, oh, I'll just borrow a couple of those. And so here I am. You can use bricks. Those are nice and heavy, but these are huge stones. And so I just went ahead and did that. And I will tell you, this weighted stack thing is still weird to me. I'm like, wow, because you see they pushed up around the sides, but they are pushing up against these weighted stones, even multiple stacks high. And I'm just shocked of how strong these little sprouts are. It's a really cool experience to see this. So you can see there, they're starting to pop up around the sides. So that's when I removed the weights. I took them out, and I think I have, yes, good. I have a photo there. They look bad. Like number 4 there that looks scary. Like that, I had some, memories of failure come up when I saw that. Like, oh no, like, are they going to grow? Like, this doesn't look good. That was my first thought when I saw that. But look, within hours, it went from 4 to 5. And that is broccoli to the right and a salad green mix to the left. So it went from yellowy looking to greening up just in a few hours of having the grow lights on, giving them a chance to breathe and do the whole process, with the light. And then the next day or two, you start to see, picture 6. Those are my broccoli microgreens, and off, to the left of that photo, you can see those are the salad mix. And they're just beautiful, vibrant, completely greened up and fabulous, getting to the point where they're going to be harvested. And so I gave them about 10 days to completely grow from seeded to full grown, ready to harvest. And I could have eaten them sooner, honestly, because day 7, they were looking ready to go too. So you can harvest them early if you really want to. I just started going over there and like taking some scissors, and I just cut like a section out and threw them in my salad. I just started eating out of them. But like I said, the quantity is so high that I definitely didn't, oh, there I am. I definitely didn't need the amount of sprouts that I've grown. It's a little bit much for what I need. So this is me from tonight, a couple hours before I got on this call. That is my wheatgrass. Like, look at that wheatgrass. That is so exciting. So I am at the point right now in this moment where I'm just thinking, what am I growing to juice? Like, I just want to juice all the things and add this fabulous nourishment into everything. This is just so exciting for me. Yes. So I don't know if anyone else has any more questions or anything like that. I think I covered pretty much everything. That I had gotten some emails ahead of time asking me questions for people who weren't going to be able to make it, that had questions. But yeah, it's just been, I just really want to encourage you to go ahead and get started. And if you want one of those little microgreen kits with, the little pot and some of my seed that I've been using, I can just send that to you. About $20. I can just send that to you in a box with all the things and the directions that you would need to get started. If that's helpful to kind of pull the trigger. Because I know sometimes it's like the overwhelm of just ordering, okay, I got to order the seed. I got to order this. I got to find a pot. I need the little disc of soil. All the little components can be the thing that stops you from getting started. So I can remove some of that friction for you if you want. Just reach out and let me know if that's something that would help you. I just want to see everybody starting to give this a shot. I highly recommend. Yes, good. I'm so glad to hear that. I highly recommend doing this as a homeschool project. So like I said, what you're going to see in your email probably tomorrow is I'm going to send you out my slides, and I will send you the directions for how to do this yourself with like the kit combo, concept where you have the pot and all the little things, so that you can feel really confident. And you don't have to use the coconut coir stuff. You can use soil as well. And the brand that I find here in South Carolina that's really great is called Sungrow. But you can just look for some sort of organic soil mix locally. You don't want to get into obviously the ones that are like, the Miracle Grows or anything like that have all the chemicals in them. And one of the things that I'm working on experimenting with is adding earth medicine into my soil to give it some more, nutrients and things like that to help the microgreens just flourish even more. So that's another additive that I'm going to start doing here because I have some for my plants. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. So I hope this was helpful for you. And I'm really glad that I was able to share all of my growing successes. And I believe that you too can grow things. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you.